Do you sometimes feel completely worn out because everyone else's emotions seem to have somehow ended up living inside your head? Someone is upset and suddenly you feel responsible. Someone's disappointed and suddenly you feel guilty. And someone is stressed and before you know it you're carrying their stress as though it came in a carrier bag with your name written on the side of it. And if that sounds familiar, then this video is for you. Because today we're going to look at how to care for people without absorbing everything they feel, and how to support others without emotionally drowning yourself, and how to gently remember that other people's feelings are not always yours to carry. Hi, I'm Dave and welcome to today's Minecraft, and you're in the right place if you're a caring kind of person and you often feel overwhelmed and you want to create a calmer mind and overcome self-doubt and build lasting self-esteem and resilience, and also develop a kinder, healthier relationship with yourself. Okay, so let's begin with something important. Being affected by other people's emotions doesn't mean you're too sensitive. And it certainly doesn't mean you need to just toughen up, which is often said by people who have the emotional depth of a teaspoon in a car park puddle. And very often the people who carry everybody else's emotions aren't weak at all. They're caring, and they're thoughtful, and they're observant. They notice changes in someone's tone, and they sense when someone is upset. And they can walk into a room and feel the emotional atmosphere before anyone has said a single word. And while that can be a beautiful quality, it can also become exhausting when you start believing that every feeling around you is your responsibility to fix. And this is where caring quietly turns into carrying. And there's a big difference. Caring sounds like, I'm here for you. I must solve this, manage this, absorb this, and make sure everyone else is okay before I'm allowed to feel okay myself. And that is a very heavy way to live, because many caring people don't even realise they're doing it. They simply think, well, this is what I'm like. I worry about people, I can't switch off, I hate seeing someone upset, I feel guilty if I don't help. And underneath all of that, there is often one quiet belief. If someone I care about isn't okay, then I'm not allowed to be okay either. And that belief can feel compassionate, but over time it can become a prison. Because if your peace depends on everybody else being calm, happy, well, grateful, stable, and emotionally tidy, then your peace is going to have a very difficult time. Because people aren't always calm, and they're not always happy, and people certainly aren't always emotionally tidy. Some people come with emotional laundry that could fill up an industrial washing machine, and if you keep trying to wash it all yourself, eventually you're going to run out of washing powder. So let's gently explore this. Why do we carry other people's emotions? Sometimes it comes from love. You care deeply and you don't want people to suffer. Sometimes it comes from childhood patterns. Maybe you learned very early on to scan the room to make sure everybody else was okay because that helped you feel safer. Sometimes it comes from fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being seen as selfish, fear that if someone is upset with you, the relationship might not survive. And sometimes it comes from identity. You may have become so used to being the helper, the fixer, the listener, or the strong one that you almost don't know who you are when you're not carrying something for somebody else. But here is one of the key lessons I'd like you to remember. You can love people without taking ownership of their emotional state, and you can care without becoming the container for everyone else's pain. You can support someone without making yourself responsible for the outcome. And that doesn't make you selfish, and it doesn't make you distant. It makes you healthy. And this is where we need a little Mindcraft. The M in Minecraft is about mapping where you are right now and recognising what is going on. So ask yourself, whose emotion am I trying to carry right now? Because sometimes we feel anxious not because of our own situation, but because we've picked up someone else's fear. Sometimes we feel guilty, not because we've done anything wrong, but because someone else is disappointed. And sometimes we feel tense, not because our own day is difficult, but because we've been absorbing in the mood of someone around us. So the first step is to name it. This is their anger. This is their sadness. This is their stress. And this is their disappointment. And I can care about it, but I don't have to become it. And that sentence alone can be incredibly powerful. I can care about it, but I don't have to become it. Because empathy doesn't mean climbing into the hole with someone and then both of you sitting there wondering who brought the ladder. Empathy means standing close enough to offer warmth, presence and support, but not so close that you lose your own footing. And then there's the I in Minecraft, to inspire your direction. So what kind of person are you trying to become? Not uncaring, not cold, and not someone who says, not my circus, not my monkeys, before walking away with a biscuit, although to be fair, sometimes a biscuit might help. The direction is this: I want to be a caring person with healthier emotional boundaries. And that's the aim. Not less loving, not less thoughtful, not less kind, just less emotionally entangled. You're learning to say, I can be kind without taking over. I can listen without needing to fix. I can support without absorbing. I can be present without abandoning myself. And this is a very different kind of strength. And then there's the N in Minecraft. It's to nurture your mindset. And one mindset shift that really matters is this: other people are allowed to have feelings without those feelings becoming instructions for you. Someone can be upset and it doesn't automatically mean you've done something wrong. Someone can be disappointed and it doesn't automatically mean you need to change your decision. Someone can be stressed and it doesn't automatically mean you have to rescue them. And someone can be angry and it doesn't automatically mean you should shrink, apologise, over-explain, or perform emotional gymnastics as though you're trying to win gold in the people-pleasing Olympics. Other people's emotions are information. They're not always instructions. And that's worth repeating. Other people's emotions are information. They're not always instructions. And of course, sometimes we do need to listen, and sometimes we need to reflect, and sometimes we need to apologise if we've genuinely hurt somebody. This isn't about becoming defensive or emotionally unavailable or disconnected. It's about learning the difference between this is something I need to take responsibility for and this is something I can care about, but it belongs to them. And that difference can change your life. And the D in Minecraft is to develop resilience. Emotional resilience doesn't mean that nothing affects you. It means you can feel something without being completely taken over by it. So when you notice yourself absorbing somebody else's emotions, pause and ask, what is actually mine to carry here? And just as importantly, what isn't mine to carry? Your responsibility might be to listen kindly. It might be to communicate clearly. It might be to be honest and respectful and calm. But your responsibility isn't to control how another person feels about every situation. That is some way beyond your job description, and frankly the pay is terrible. This is where boundaries come in, and boundaries can sometimes sound harsh because people imagine them as big, dramatic statements, but many boundaries are quiet and considered. A boundary might sound like, I'm going to take a moment before I reply. I can listen, but I can't solve this tonight. I care about you, but I need some rest. I understand that you're upset, but I still need to make the decision that is right for me. And I'm sorry that you feel disappointed, but I'm not able to take responsibility for that feeling. They're honest statements, and honesty delivered with kindness isn't a lack of care. It's a form of self-respect. And respect for the other person too. And then there's a C in Minecraft, and that's to clarify your next steps. So here's a few simple practices you can begin using. First, name the emotion. When you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, is this actually mine? Sometimes the answer will be yes, and if it is, you can begin working with it. But sometimes the answer will be no. I've picked this up from somebody else, and that simple awareness can create space for both your head and your heart. Second, use a separating phrase. Try quietly saying to yourself, this is their feeling. I can care, but I don't have to carry. Or, I can be with them without becoming responsible for them. Or, I can support, but I don't have to absorb. And these phrases may sound simple, but when repeated, they help your mind build a healthier emotional boundary. Third, notice your fixing impulse. When someone else shares a problem, you might immediately want to jump in with advice, solutions, reassurance, or a full rescue plan involving strategic guidance, 3 telephone calls and possibly a packed lunch. But try pausing first. Ask, do they need me to fix this, or do they simply need me to listen? Sometimes people don't need a mechanic, they need a witness. They need someone calm beside them. They need someone to say, that sounds really difficult. I can understand why you feel that way. I'm here with you. And sometimes that is enough. Fourth, give the emotion back with kindness. This doesn't mean rejecting the person. It means recognising ownership. You might say, I can see that this is really upsetting for you. And notice the word, for you. Not, this is now mine to solve, but this is your feeling, and I can be compassionate towards it. And the small difference matters. Then there's the R in Minecraft, to reach out and resource yourself, because if you're somebody who carries everybody else's emotions, you probably need safe spaces where you don't always have to be the strong one. You need people with whom you don't have to perform being okay. You need rest and grounding, time away from emotional noise, and you need to be supported too. And that can be difficult if your identity has always been, I'm the one everyone else leans on. But even the strongest person needs somewhere to put the weight down. You're not a shelf, you're a human being. And even shelves eventually begin to sag if people keep piling things on them. And the A in Minecraft is to affirm and anchor your emotions and beliefs for the future you. So let's anchor a few healthier beliefs. Try these on gently. I'm allowed to care without carrying. I'm allowed to support without fixing. I'm allowed to be kind without abandoning myself. Other people's feelings matter, but mine matter too. Their distress doesn't automatically mean that I failed. I can love people and still have emotional boundaries. And these aren't selfish beliefs, they're sustainable beliefs, because if your kindness destroys you, it isn't sustainable kindness. And the world doesn't need you burnt out, resentful and running on emotional fumes. The world needs your kindness with roots. The world needs your care with boundaries, and the world needs your warmth without you setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else comfortable. And then there's the F in Minecraft, is to focus your energy. So ask yourself, where is my energy actually needed? Because not every emotional situation requires your full involvement. Not every message needs an instant reply, and not every mood needs an investigation. Not every silence means something is wrong. And not every person's disappointment requires you to rearrange your entire life. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause. Breathe. Let the feeling pass through you, without building a house for it inside your heart. And choose your response instead of reacting from guilt. That's emotional maturity. Not coldness, not avoidance, simply maturity. And finally, the T in Minecraft is to transform and thrive. And this is the transformation, because you begin to realise that love doesn't require emotional self-abandonment. You can still be caring, you can still be thoughtful, you can still be the kind of person who notices, listens, supports and encourages. But you no longer have to be the emotional recycling centre for everybody else's unresolved feelings. You're allowed to have peace, and you're allowed to have limits. You're allowed to say, I care about you, but I can't carry this for you. And sometimes that may be the most loving thing of all. Because when you stop carrying what isn't yours, you give other people the dignity of carrying what belongs to them. You stop rescuing people from every difficult feeling. You stop teaching them that your well-being is the price of their comfort. And you begin showing them that healthy care has boundaries. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. You can care deeply without carrying everything. You can be compassionate without being consumed. And you can love people without losing yourself inside their emotions. Their feelings may matter, but they aren't always yours to carry. And perhaps that's the quiet wisdom here. A kind heart still needs a safe place to live. And that place starts with you. Thank you for being here, and if this video has helped you, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, sharing it with somebody who may need it, or just leaving a comment below. Take good and kind care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.